Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. Welcome to this edition of the Tuesday telecast from the Joyful Path. We are having another roundtable discussion, this one of removing the money barrier, and removing barriers is one of my favorite things to do. Humans get really snuggly with our barriers. We like to snuggle up to them and push against them and fight with them. And we also feel really kind of naked when we don't have them. So question is the money barrier really there? Is it important? Is it crucially important? Let's talk about the money barrier. I have a panel of guests and ready to go. I have Jamie Edwards, who's ready to rock your job search. And I've got Allison Jeffries, who is used to be in the financial sector and is a mindset person who helps recreate women's center in themselves. I've got Honey Wesley, who is a mindset coach, who is masterful at the joy of mindset. And I've got Angie Carlson, who is a leader on Alignable and a finance coach who helps couples navigate their finances and find their joy, because they have been missing out what has been there all along, and they haven't been able to see it because they haven't seen past the beginning. So without further ado, I would like to bring our panelists on to the show. Let's go bring them out from the back and bring them into the house. Well, hello and welcome to the Joyful Path stage. We are here talking about removing the money barrier, and I have this amazing panel of experts and friends around the table to talk to. So what I want to do is not talk too long, but just actually turn it over to you guys. I think I am going to start with Honey, and just Honey, first, how about you introduce yourself, say a line or two about just kind of why you're on this, why you're at this table, why are you here to talk about money of all things?
Hi, thank you so much, Lydia, for inviting me to be a part of this group. It's an amazing group. My name is Honey Wesley, and I have the privilege of owning a company called The Joy of Mindset. And I reach out to women over 40, many of whom are on their own, sometimes for the first time. But even if they're not, if they're uncertain about their future, I have a flagship course that I teach called Discover Your Inner Diva. And we all have one. It means dynamic, independent, valuable, and amazing. And most women don't realize that it's there, and they have a strength and power they can use to literally create whatever future they want.
Awesome. Wonderful. Jamie, could you tell us about you?
Sure, definitely. My name is Jamie Edwards, and I'm a career coach. I have my own company called Jam Sessions with Jamie, and what I do is I help job seekers rock their job search, and I do different Zoom calls with people that are 90 minutes long that revolve around the three most important things when it comes to a job seeker's job search, which is helping them build a resume, helping them interview better, and helping them create a LinkedIn profile that helps them stand out and gets recruiters to get more eyes on their page. So I do this through Zoom calls, and before kind of getting into career coaching, I worked for some different Fortune 50 companies where I was able to help hire people and build teams from the ground up. And I know what job seekers go through every day with layoffs and different things, that I'm now blessed to be able to take what I've learned in those companies and do this on my own and be able to help as many people as I can gain more traction on their job search and get into their next role.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for coming to the table.
Thanks
Allison,
for having me.
tell us about you.
Hi, I'm Allison Jeffries. I own Allison Jeffries Coaching, go figure. And I am a best-selling author. I consider myself a life recreation coach. I come from a very multifaceted background working in the corporate world. At one point, I worked for a women's financial education platform, held my Series 7 at 65, and traveled around the world and tried to teach men how to work with women and their money, because guess what? Women and men are different. And tried to teach women that it was okay to engage in our financial futures. And not only okay, it really worked out a lot better. Unfortunately, societal barriers, cultural barriers between women and their money are very strong and very pervasive. And it's not even a cultural barrier. I work with women who have come to the United States from around the world, India, Russia, South Africa. And we find that as women, we have been given those same beliefs. And as Honey will agree with me on this, it's about what we believe is what we get. And unfortunately, our beliefs most times are not our own. And we can change that. And when we do, our whole life changes.
All right. Angie, could you tell I'll tell all of us about what brings you to the table?
Of course, Lydia. Thank you for having me. My name is Angie Carlson, owner of Carlson Financial Coaching. I focus on helping couples with their money communication. We take them from having fights and frustrated about their money, so that they're heard, valued, and respected in their money conversations, so that they can experience less stress in their relationship with more money in the bank. We walk through this process by using my signature method called agree and achieve, because so many couples agree on their high level goals, like they want to get out of debt, they want to have a nice retirement. Fantastic. Where they disagree is on what are the day-to-day decisions to get there. How do we free up the money to reach these goals? How do we look at the situation as a team? And one of the things holding them back is there's a time in their life that they didn't know each other. So they don't know these experiences about their spouse that is showing up in their money decisions and how they talk about money, leaving them both feeling very confused. They feel like their spouse has three heads. They wonder what's going on. And some of them start to question what if the I do vows I took turn into what if I can't?
So much wisdom here at the table already. So I am your host, and I am so excited to not just ask the questions, but to do a lot of listening myself, because not just me, but I think if I'm anybody, that we all have these barriers, and I deal with barriers. And when we have these barriers, we sometimes don't realize that we have them. We just push against them. We're very used to pushing against barriers all of our lives. In fact, the moment we take them away, we say, it's like being naked or jumping off of an abyss. We don't like that. So what do we do with the money barrier? And as soon as we think that we're okay with money, sometimes we say, oh, look at that, I've fallen into an old habit. Whether it's with my spending, with my savings, with how I value myself, with how I negotiate for myself, how I view my the people that I'm with. So I want to open up the table and talk about is our relationship with money, is it predominantly a issue of our purpose or our mindset or our value? And I'm going to just throw that out there and say whoever wants to jump in first can go ahead.
I'll go ahead and jump in on that because my brain immediately went to two of your answers. And two of those answers are purpose and value. Because clients that I work with, one of the reasons that they are struggling to agree on what to do with their money is that when they're looking at their plan, they're thinking the things that they have to cut to get their result are the things that they value. They're thinking, oh, I have to not allow my kids to go to private school. I can't have this thing I want. And well, if you're in an extreme situation, that might be true for a period of time. Most of the times, it's the value is not the challenge. The challenge is how we look at the situation and the purpose behind it. So it does fall a little bit into mindset as well, because if we keep looking at the situation, we look at things just based on numbers in the budget, of course, logically, your brain's going to go, well, I can't change. There's no room there, because that's what your brain is seeing. And it makes sense. The question is behind that, if you're seeing like, okay, you're making minimum payments on a credit card and you're seeing that minimum payment every month, that's actually masking the habit of why you have the minimum payment. And that reason you have the payment is you're still using the credit card and charging things on it. So of course, what you're charging isn't signing up in your budget. So when you're looking at it, you're looking at the budget thinking you're looking at the right thing, but really you're not, because it can mask the things that really need to change to get you to where you want to go. And that's the value of having a conversation that we're having today, is to just get the brain going in a different direction of how can I look at this differently?
All right. Yeah. Anybody else? Who else wants to jump in?
Well, I have to say something about, you know, because while both of those, the value and the purpose, are very important, without the right mindset, those other two they can't happen. They just can't happen. And so I believe that all three of those are critical areas. When I saw the title of this, Remove the Money Barrier, I mentioned to a couple of you, from my perspective, remove the money barrier is to recognize that there's not one. And this goes back to mindset. And Allison and I think are quite aligned with, if you get the mind right, these other things fall into place. Because if you get your mindset right, then cutting an expense that is not serving you is easy, because you don't see it as something you can't have. You're looking at, this is what I want. I'm shaping my future. So, and even like with Jamie's clients, it's great to have, your LinkedIn profile and a slam jam resume and all. But if up here they don't really believe that they're worthy of that, they're still going to struggle to get a job, because when they get in front of somebody hiring, they're not going to relay that confidence, because they lack it. They don't have it. They don't truly believe, oh, they're not going to pay me that. Oh, they get into that imposter syndrome kind of thing. So that's what I love about what I do. I can't, and maybe y'all can point out one, but I can't think of an area that mindset does not affect. That's just how I look at it. Everything to me is seen through the filter of mindset.
And that makes, and I agree with that too, honey. And with what I do, the people I talk to is they just are even wondering, is this even possible? And so once we get into the fact that, yes, this is possible, yes, we can see some ways to make it happen, then that mindset slowly starts to shift. They can see, oh, well, I thought I was going to have to sacrifice my values or my purpose on the way to the goal. And
Yeah.
maybe I don't have to. And just that little bit of changing that from can't to maybe
Yeah.
is just enough to get some of this going to then, and the ones that shift are the ones who have the most amazing transformations. And so, yeah, I mean, Allison and Jamie, I'm just super curious what you would chime in with.
Yeah, that's good stuff there from both of you. Yeah, I mean, we talk about impossible. I know it sounds so cliche, but like when people that I work with say, "Well, it's impossible for me to ask for this type of money or negotiate this salary," I'm like, "Well, stop saying it's impossible. Look at it in two words: I'm possible." Right? Like you are possible to get what you want. Now, I tell people this all the time. Mindset's a big thing, right? Nobody knows their financial situation like they do, right? So sometimes when I see what's happening with mindset, a lot of times we let social media play into this. We look at other people's profiles and we see people who are in the same positions that we're in, and maybe they're making more than us, and we're comparing ourselves to those people. And we have to stop comparing ourselves to other, because what might be a lot of money to one person might be something different to another person, right? um I think that's a big thing, is that we start comparables. We start saying, well, I should be at this point because this person's at this point, they're making this kind of money. But you don't need to think that way. You have to do what's best for you and your situation. I've always been somebody, when it comes to money, that I've always been somebody who tries to live below my means. As much as I want to have all the nice and the fancy things and whatnot, I always try to live a little bit below my means, because then I put money away for emergency stuff, things like that, right? And it just sits there in case a rainy day or I need that. And I can't stress that enough, that it's tough because so many people don't have 6 months of emergency money, even 3 months of emergency money. It's very eye-opening. And that's kind of another thing I tell people too, is like when they're looking for jobs and they're like, oh, I have an offer that is $10,000 less than what I was making before, but I really need to start working. What should I do? Should I negotiate this? Should I take this? I say, look, I would love to give you that answer, but like, you need to think of this yourself. Is a $10,000 cut, when it comes to taxes and everything like that, it's not really 10,000, because you get more taxes taken out the higher you go, right? Might be like 7,000, 8,000, something like that, right? Is that enough for you to turn down a job in a market where so many people are looking for work right now? And I get it. We all want to make what we're worth, and we should always value what we're worth. But you have to survey the whole situation and think to yourself, if I pass this up, like, I'm going to be back in that market and I got to keep looking. Like, do I need that money right away, or can I afford to just keep looking for a job that's going to pay me what I'm worth because of my financial situation? And more people just need to think about that and keep them looking in their sense of view and not worry about the people around them. Just focus on what's best for them.
Mm-hmm.
That was really well said, Jamie. And I loved your explanation of looking at the whole picture. And Lydia, I loved when you said purpose, mindset, and value. When we look at money, these are the three bottom things. And I only work with women. And unfortunately, as women, we have our own issues. And all three of those can be impediments to how we work with our money. Okay. All three. Purpose. We're women. I don't know any woman that didn't want to grow up and do something charitable, support, help the world, make the world a better place. And we get grown, we get money, we do all of this. And for a lot of us at a certain age, we start saying, oh, I want to work more towards my purpose. But that purpose in its own self is a barrier for women, because there's so many who believe, well, if I'm going to do good, or if I'm helping, I shouldn't be getting paid, should I? It's not helping. It's not good if I'm getting paid. And so many women, if they do work towards their purpose, financially work in an opposite direction, because they have that barrier of good work should not come with a reward. Mindset. Our mindset, we all have these mindsets, that voice that goes on in our head telling us what we are not, day in, day out. We all have them. If you haven't heard this before, we all have them. And that mindset isn't our own. It was built in our minds long before we even knew what we were agreeing to. And as an adult, we can, and as Honey has talked about, we can take those faulty beliefs and change them. But we have to know, and we have to believe that we can before we can do it. And then value. As a woman, especially someone who may have been through divorce twice, like me, your value, your worth, takes a huge hit. And when you don't believe you're valuable,
Yep.
no one else will either. And it's about coming to that place through mindset work, through getting financially coherent, through getting that job that you deserve and that you can excel at, that we can put all of those pieces together and begin to live the way we were born to live and enjoy our lives. Because sometimes our purpose here on earth is just to be happy, and that is okay.
Yeah. So mindset. So if we've got the mindset and we've got the job and we've gone and we've been supported by someone like Jamie, and let's say we've been supported in the past by someone, a mindset coach, and we have the right mindset, and we get panicked and we lose our job, and we get supported by Jamie, and Jamie says, yeah, you can afford to take this pay cut because is this job, are you going to like this job enough? Are you going to be able to do this? And it's not going to take enough of a cut. It's not going to be a bad cut for you because you're not going to lose as much in taxes. And they say, yeah. And this really resonates with me. I'm going to do it. I'm not going to sit around, and you do this and you've got a great mindset, and inflation comes along, and the job, the wages don't go up. And so here's life that comes along, and you think that your mindset is good, and then your mindset starts to screw with you, because you say, it's not my fault, it's inflation. It's not my fault. It's the price of gas. It's not my fault. It's the hospital bills. It's the price of food. Where do we start to hurt ourselves with our mindset? Where is that real that we're hurting ourselves with our mindset? And where is it the case that actually there are problems out there that we have to deal with, and we have to deal with them. Doesn't matter what our mindset is, we just have to deal with it.
I mean, it's interesting take on it, right? Because you can't, it comes down to controlling what you can control, right? I mean, I can't control in the summertime when gas was hitting almost $5 a month, right? I can't control when food prices go up and whatnot. All I can do is control what I'm rationing and what I'm putting off to the side based on what I know my plan is monthly when it comes to my expenses, right? Now, if you're in a job and you do take a job that maybe pays a little bit less, right? And you're still happy there, and maybe things are going well, but you're like, man, I need to make some more money because inflation's starting to get there and whatnot. Well, it's something where sometimes we have to have that tough conversation maybe with our job and speak to the powers that be and just say, it's been a little bit since I've had a raise. I'd love to I want to have a conversation because I've been kind of looking around maybe in other positions, and I'm really happy here, but I just feel like what I'm doing and the job I'm doing here doesn't support maybe what I'm making right now. And you just have a conversation. I mean, that's something you can control, is having a conversation with somebody. You can't control if the job says, I'm not going to give you a raise, right? But you can control also at work if you're performing well, and maybe 6 months down the line, you get a promotion, right? And that's another thing I tell people is, like, when you start thinking about the money aspect, like if you're taking a little bit of a cut to start a job, who's to say that you're not going to be in that job for 6 months, work hard, and now you get a promotion to a position? It was a stepping stone to you making more than what you made previously, right? But we can't control you can't control the groceries, and things have gotten more expensive. I mean, I went to Chili's last night, right? For three of us. And it was like $50 for me and my girlfriend and our daughter. My daughter's only 3 years old and got a kid's meal. I'm like, what the heck is going on with these prices these days? Like, never used to be like that. I could win like 30 bucks and be okay, right? But yeah, all we can do is control what we can control. And you just have to keep that mindset going of like, look, I control what's going on at work. I can't control the stuff that's going outside, but if I have to put if I'm able to put another 20, 30 bucks aside every week, if I can afford to do that, that's 120 bucks more a month. That will compensate for some of the inflation things that are going on. Maybe it means couple Starbucks less a day or something like that. We know how expensive things can get. Maybe you get a coffee at McDonald's instead of Starbucks if you can, right? You save some money there. It's like, there's ways that we can do things. It's just a matter of, do we have that mindset once again to be able to tell ourselves that we can do those things, so we can figure out how we do them, and we can, control what we do, so that way the inflation things don't really get to us. So my opinion on that.
Yeah. Who else?
Jamie, I was gonna say, Jamie, you were talking and it reminded me of a conversation I had with a woman at work one time. And I worked for Fortune 100 company, and it was a bad market. And this was back in the 90s. I'm that old. So anyway, so we knew there was a layoff coming that Friday. You always saw the signs, you knew. And I came into work one day on a Thursday, and there she was packing her desk. And I'm looking at her going, what are you doing? Oh, well, they're having layoffs, and I'm sure I'm one of those people. So I'm getting ready. And that was that light bulb wake up moment for me. When it was, okay, wait a minute. So she's been working here as long as I have, doing the same job. They say for a layoff, her first instinct is, oh, well, I'm on the list. Self-defeating attitude. I haven't worked hard enough. I guess she hasn't. And she plans on being out of it. And the first thought that went through my mind was, they can have all the layoffs they want. I'm the one turning the lights off. I'm going to make sure that I'm valuable enough that I'm here to turn the lights off when they close. And so it does all go back to that mindset, because anytime you look at that money, it's all about what's important. And any of us that's ever hit a financial bump in the road, amazingly, things that were critical, necessary, that we had to have before aren't quite so important anymore. I realized I didn't have to get my nails done every 2 weeks or whatever else there was in there. And so it's about readjusting your priorities and understanding what is truly important in here to you. And when we honor ourselves to look at our lives from that standpoint of what is really, really important, money at the end of the day is a tool. And I have a sign in my kitchen that says, money isn't everything, but it quiets my nerves. And that's I've come to believe, yeah, that's it. Money is just there to keep things moving forward. But when we place our whole value personally and as a family and socially on just the money, we're selling ourselves short, because we are all far more than just our paycheck, or what the car we drive, or the house we live in, or the fancy stuff we have around our house. Those things really, at the end of the day, when we have that moment, when we look at our lives, aren't the important things. There are other things that take precedence, and then money becomes not a problem. Because if you strip it all away and you have to start over, each and every one of us will land on our feet and we'll be okay. We can do that.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was going to touch on that too, is when you're financially at the end of your rope. And what I mean by that is your income minus your expenses is at or above zero. You, at that point, feel like every single thing that hits you is like the universe working against you. I'm not worth getting that goal. I'm not worth this happening. I'll never get out of this situation. And it almost turns into a self-fulfilling prophecy of the defeatist attitude of, I'm never going to get ahead. Look at everything coming against me. And I get it. we went through a situation that we had 26 months of financial hell. At the time, my husband was working hourly at Walmart. I was working at a college. Translation, we were not making what people would call fantastic money. And yet we were able to cash flow nearly 63,000 in 26 months. And it wasn't because of the income or the fact we could do a really great budget, because I stopped going back and trying to figure out how to get those budgets balanced, because it ain't happening. And I have receipts that every bill was paid. It's because we looked at the situation and said, we know our value. We know we're not going back into debt no matter what. We know that this is going to be provided for. We don't care how this is provided for. I mean, less moral, legal, ethical, but beyond that, we don't care. And it's going to show up. It's going to be okay. We're going to get through this and we're going to go on our path. And when we shifted into that, it was life-changing for us. And we just had to get past the whole defeatist attitude of everything that's hitting us is just meant to be. And, you know, God doesn't want this for us. We're not worth it. And shift into, okay, we just went through a process to pay off our debt. We busted our butts to do this. We don't want to undo all this hard work. And it all started just with, what if it's possible? What would that look like? And I know Honey's going to have a lot to jump in on the mindset side, so I don't want to steal her thunder, but just kind of back to the whole values and purpose thing. Sometimes it just takes someone showing you how to look at things differently, because most of us know a person who has had the person who keeps picking the same type of individual over and over again to date, and you just want to scream at them because you just know this person isn't good for them. We have that same relationship with our money, but the difference is we can't break up with money. We need it.
Yes. Yeah, I do have a couple things that I did want to say. I totally agree. We cannot control everything, and that is a problem for some people because they feel like they need to, or they should, or it's their responsibility. There are things we cannot control. What we can control is how we react to those things that we encounter or that we feel like hit us or whatever. And I wanted to comment. You said Jamie, you got a 3-year-old little girl. Is that what you said? And
Correct. Yep.
yeah. So a couple things. Yeah, that's expensive. If you look at it as paying for 2 adult plates of food and a child-sized plate of food. But if you look at it as an hour or an hour and a half or 45 minutes or whatever you spent with your wife and your child, then $50, sure. Why not? Because you can make more money. You can never get back that time. And I do press that on people. And that's the trap we fall into when we trade time for money, because you can always get more money. You can always make more money. You cannot get back that time. We made the conscious decision when, as a young married couple, we'd been married about a year and a half, and found out we were pregnant, which was delightful because we both wanted to start a family, but we weren't expecting twins. And it was going to take, I was an office manager at a furniture store at the time, and it was going to take nearly my entire paycheck to pay for daycare for 2 infants. And so we made the decision that I would stay at home. We had 1 car, and I would either get up and take him to work if I had somewhere I needed to go, or I'd put it off until he got home, or he would take the car and leave us, we stayed at home. But we made those decisions, and I can tell you now, looking back, even though, yes, there were times that money was not plentiful, it's on a single income, and I did things. I've been a lifelong entrepreneur, and I did some of the home party things off and on, but I would not make the decision any different if I could go back and change it. I would not trade that time for any amount of money. I have such an outstanding relationship with my children now because I was always home with them. So a lot of it comes to perspective, that no, you can't change what they're charging you, for the gas, but you can look at where you're going to go with it when you put it in the car. Where are you going with that? And I don't know how many people know this, but there are two basic mindsets. And one is a fixed mindset and one is a growth mindset. And the people with a fixed mindset have a hard time doing anything. They have a hard time changing. They have a hard time with failures because there are no failures. If you have a growth mindset, you see a failure as an opportunity to learn, an opportunity to change. But people with a fixed mindset, they think that that typically means you're born with a set number of skills and a set amount of talent, and that's what you have to deal with, period.
Yeah.
And the growth mindset does not feel that way at all. You can learn anything. That's where you get the anything is possible perspective. And I need to hush because I'm telling y'all, I can talk endlessly.
I think we all can.
From one rabbit hole to another.
No, that's you bring up, I mean, I love when you talk about fixed versus growth mindset, because it's something we talked about recently on one of our positivity calls that we did recently. And you talk about money versus experiences. Like, I think that's so important to talk about, because that's kind of my mindset and the way things have shifted is like, now that I have a daughter and whatnot, right? And I'm focused a lot more, I'm 40, whatever, I enjoy experiences, doing things with my daughter, getting out there more. I tell people this all the time, like, I do the career coaching now, and I'm doing this pretty much full time, right? And I tell people all the time, I'm not doing this because I'm trying to become a millionaire. Like, I do this because it's a passion of mine. Trust me, I'm telling you honestly right now, I'm not making the money that I was making in the corporate world doing this coaching stuff. But you know what? I'm loving what I'm doing here. I'm spending more time with my family now at home with my daughter. I get to be more in her life, not coming home late at night and things like that. I get to be part of her soccer program starting this weekend, which is exciting, that I've never done before. So that's fun. And, you're not going to one day, and I don't want to bring this up in a morbid way, but one day we're all not going to be here. I mean, that's the truth. That's just what's going to happen, right? But when you're on your last days, you're not thinking to yourself, oh, I wish I would have turned that report in one day sooner, or I wish I would have gotten that project done that my boss gave me. No, you're thinking to yourself, I regret that I would have done these things before. I would have traveled more. I would have done this. And I'm trying to travel more too, where I can, and do fun trips with friends, which, me and my girlfriend have that understanding that it's okay to do if we can. And one of us just watches our daughter. Like, that's what you want to have. You don't want to live with regrets one day and say, I wish I would have done this more. I wish I would have taken that trip or whatnot. Like, nobody ever said at the end of the day that it's a contest when we're all gone. Oh, it's not a contest for who's the richest person in the graveyard. Nobody cares about who's the richest person in the graveyard when you're all gone, right?
Yeah.
It's about, did you live that life that was fulfilling, enjoy the things you should have enjoyed, and did you leave with an impact, right? Nobody cares about the money at that point, because who knows what's going to happen to that money one day when we're gone and my daughter takes it over and whatnot. Like, you got to have that type of mindset. And we don't we work to live. We don't live to work. Right. And I think more people need to understand that. And I know kind of maybe going off topic here, but I think that's important because we're talking about the money thing, right? You should always live to work. You should always work to live, not live to work. Life is worth so much more than what your job is. And when we can start living that way and appreciating that, your money starts going in certain different ways. You put money to the side for certain things. You realize, I don't need that Lamborghini. I don't need that crazy car. I can get a house that maybe has one thing that I wanted, but I don't necessarily need that thing. I'm going to save myself money there. Like, you kind of have that mindset, and it really helps out.
And as someone who has had a near-death experience, I can tell you that, Jamie, everything that you're saying is true, because when I was laying there, I was 39 years old, wasn't sure if I was going to make it or not. And the one thing that flooded through my head was all the regrets. And that's a big reason why I'm doing what I did today. Is I had kind of always had thought in my mind that I could be a financial coach. I could help people. And I just always thought that I wasn't worthy of it. And so I never took the leap. And when I was laying there, I couldn't eat or drink for 5.5 days. I cannot tell you how thirsty and how hungry I was at that point, and how dark your mind really goes when you're in that situation. And I was just like, I have no idea what this is going to look like. I have no idea how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to figure it out and find a way to make it happen. And that's exactly what I did.
Yeah, I
That's
hear you.
really interesting.
Yeah, I had COVID last year, and it was the worst. I'll, I tell you not, it was probably the worst 2 weeks of my life. Honestly, like I was in the hospital a couple days, in and out. I passed out once. Like I thought that I thought I was not going to make it. Honestly, I started saying this is crazy. Like my daughter's only 3, she's not going to have a top. Like it was bad for 2 weeks. I started thinking to myself, like, yeah, change my way to think. Like you just never know what could happen, right? And now it's gotten to the point where like experiences for me, if I want to go to a concert, if I want to go to a movie, if I want to do something fun or travel, and none of my friends want to jump on board with me, or they don't want to do it with me, or I can't get anyone, I will go by myself. I don't care, because you know what? I'll meet people there. I'll make friends out there. I'm no problem talking to people, right? I mean, I'm not going to not do something because other people want to say, well, I can't do this, or I'm not going to do this. I'm still going to enjoy those experiences, because I don't want to once again live and say, well, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have gone there. It just kind of changed my whole mindset to how I do things myself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. The purpose of life is not to make money, but money is calming when you have it. Allison is right. We have and I want to start wrapping this up. Um as we do come to those places that we when we have those dire incidents, I also have probably been in a hospital for longer than any of you, but some of you know that. But and yeah, I have died and come back, and it's a thing where you just know that it doesn't matter. It's you have to find your purpose, and you have to live it, and you have to love it, because there's no other point. And making money is something that happens as a result. We're not here to make money. However, it's all we hear about in the media. So we do get awfully turned around about it. And and we will get turned around about it at different points in our life. So each of us has a unique perspective on this, and deals with people who get turned around about it at different points in their life, after 40, because of divorce, because they've lost their job, because they didn't know their spouses before they knew their spouses. And so I want to kind of close with just going around. If you have one thing from your perspective to tell people when they come to a point, when they just come to a locked door and they say, I am fit to be tied. I don't know what to do. What would you tell them right now? And that's my closing go around. So let's start, let's kind of go backwards and start with Honey.
You hit a locked door, or have come up on a mountain that looks impossible to climb. you must know that you have within you the ability to overcome. It's there. You must call on it because it's not always active, but it's there when you need it. And you will find resolution, you will find determination, you will find that survival instinct that is within all of us. You just have to call on that and say, I will get through this. This is not the end. This is a detour. There's probably something better waiting. This is not where I'm supposed to be. And be open to the possibilities beyond that one obstacle you've encountered.
All right. Jamie.
Yeah, I think if you hit a locked door and whatnot, like I just think about my own situation. If I was in a situation where, it was rock bottom and I needed to support my daughter in any ways possible, Honey said it best, that survival instinct, right? You find all of a sudden your mindset goes in a totally different mode and you gear up and you say, you know what, I got to do what I have to do at this point to make this happen, to put food on the table for my daughter, right? And if somebody's having that same closed door where they're just like, I don't know what to do at this point. Like, I feel like I've hit this, I can't break through this door. I'm trying to shove it open several times. It's not opening. Don't be afraid, as hard as it is. I get sometimes it's hard to swallow our pride and ask for support from people and ask for help. I know it's tough for some people who've had to set up GoFundMe's at some point because they just didn't know what to do and they had to ask people for support and see if their community could give them money. But you got to, that's that survival instinct. Once again, you have to open up and let people know. I mean, if I don't know somebody's struggling, like, it's hard. If I want to help those people out, I can assume all day, and I don't want to assume because we know the word assume, what that can mean, right? But sometimes it's okay to reach out for help, ask for support, join a support group. There's people that have probably been there before, just like you. And sometimes all it takes is somebody to listen to you and just have that support and see how others can help, and just realize that you're not going to be stuck behind that door forever. It's going to come open. You're going to push through it. And then once you hit that peak, or once you hit that valley, you'll be peaking again. And then you just have to just keep that going, right? And you'll be better prepared for the next time another locked door comes your way.
Awesome. Angie.
I'm going to take the concept of the locked door a little further. When I run into a locked door, my answer, I ask myself two questions is, why is the door locked? And is there another door? And because sometimes doors can be locked for a reason, and it's because you're supposed to go through another one. And I kind of equate it to, you're in the forest, you're at a tree and you pull off a piece of bark and you're trying to make that one tiny piece of bark do every single thing in your life to get you in a better spot, not realizing there's a whole lot of bark in the forest and that one piece is not meant to do it all. And sometimes it just, to Jamie's point, it just takes a conversation for some support to be like, oh, that is a lock. There's another door over there. And oh, that one opens really easily. So don't assume, the locked door may be meant to be unlocked, but maybe it stays locked because you're meant for another one.
Thank you. Allison. Oops, you're muted.
I could talk for hours that way. Everybody be happy. The one thing that we all run into in life, and I think everybody has at some point or another, you run into that locked door, that barrier, that wall. You want to be happy. And we seem to think, or everything ties, as Lydia alluded to in the TV and the media, everything ties back to our net worth, what we earn, the money we have in the bank. And the reality is happiness, that's not happiness. Happiness is not having what we want. It's wanting what we have. And when we take that stock of our life and we learn to move from that mindset of lack, there's never enough. There's never enough. There's never enough time. There's never enough money. There's never enough love. There's never enough chocolate, whatever it happens to be. I didn't say sex, but anyway, the reality is there is an abundance of all of the above in this world. And when we believe and we desire to have that in our lives, and when we choose, we wake up one day and we say, you know, for 50 years, I've struggled chasing happiness. Maybe I'm just going to choose to be happy today. And when you choose to be happy and you find that thing that's in your life that makes your heart sing, all the rest becomes less important. And so it's about choosing who you're going to be today and tomorrow, and wanting what you have in life, starting there and building from there and going up from there.
Beautiful. This has been a fabulous roundtable. Well, there you have it. We had a great discussion there of all of the different aspects of the money barrier, including that it's not really there. It's all in our mind, but that it's crucially important in our society. And that at the end of the day, we want our time with what's important to us, what we love, to be there at the forefront. So if you want to connect with these beautiful, helpful, money-minded souls, their information is down in the show notes. So please go down there and connect with them. And next week, we'll have another roundtable discussion. So please join us. If you liked this, please hit like. And as always, if you haven't subscribed yet, or you connected to this through someone else and you like it, please, ever so gently, push the subscribe button, because I would love to have you here all the time, and it will help the show to really get up and running and to get out to more people. Every week we run this show, and to bring it to more people and change lives. I appreciate you, and perhaps one day we will see you on the show. So if you know somebody or yourself that has lifted themselves and now is lifting others, you can talk about bringing them on to the show and send me a note, and maybe we'll get them on. Appreciate you. See you next week. Ciao.